EDKS301 Digital Resource by Lewis Smith. Our scientific question for today is, you take your lunch in an insulated lunchbox to keep it cool. Explain how it warms up during the day by making references to how heat moves. So, how does heat move? There are three ways how heat moves. 1. Convection, 2. Conduction, and 3. Radiation. What is convection? Convection is the movement of heat from within the object. The heat then moves to other objects through liquids or gases, such as air. This diagram shows how a convection current moves. Firstly, it starts from the ground and the hot air rises. As it cools down, it slowly sinks back to the ground. What does convection look like in your lunchbox? Well, from the beans, the hot air rises. It hits the top of the lunchbox, travels across to the packet of chips. The air then cools down and sinks to the bottom of the lunchbox. What is conduction? Conduction is a common way of how heat moves. The process of conduction involves physical contact between objects. The hotter object transfers its heat to the cool object until the objects are equal in temperature. This diagram shows conduction. The flame of the candle will heat up the wire until both objects are equal in temperature. How would conduction look like in a lunchbox? Well, as the chip packet is touching the up and go, it will slowly warm up the up and go until both items are the same in temperature. This process is slowed down due to insulation, which we'll talk about later in the video. Radiation. Radiation is where heat moves through waves that are released from the object. The heat is then taken in by surrounding objects. These objects act like a vacuum. This image shows radiation. The heat of the fire moves through waves all around it. This process is called radiation. What does radiation look like in your lunchbox? Well, the hot beans in this lunchbox radiates heat all around itself. This comes in contact with the up and go, which will warm up. What happens if you insulate your lunchbox? Firstly, insulation is where certain materials slow down the travelling of heat. Materials that are commonly used to insulate food are ice packs and the materials that the lunchbox is made of. Will your lunch still heat up even if it's insulated? Yes, even though insulation will slow down the movement of heat, it will still eventually heat up over time. In conclusion, your lunch will eventually heat up, as the heat will move through conduction, convection, and radiation. To keep your lunch cooler for longer, use ice packs and other materials to insulate your
Created using Powtoon.